Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I hope you are doing well. This week's Parsha is Vayigash. So we're continuing the story of Joseph in Egypt. So at last week's Parsha, we left off with kind of a cliffhanger. After asking that the brothers bring Benjamin to Egypt as well, Joseph plants a golden goblet in Benjamin's bag and requires that Benjamin stay with him as a prisoner. So as we know, there's a famine also happening in Israel, and so the brothers have come to Egypt to get food, and they don't recognize Joseph. And so Joseph is kind of being manipulative. Maybe he's trying to figure out if they truly love their brother. And he requires that Benjamin stay as a prisoner. And Judah, at the beginning of this week's Parsha, comes to Joseph and gives a very heart-rendering grovel, as it is said in the musical, asking for that Benjamin not be taken prisoner. Judah talks about how Jacob has these two sons. Of course, the two sons are born of Rachel, his favorite wife. Jacob has these two sons. One has gone away, surely killed by wolves. Of course, this is Joseph. They don't know that Joseph is Joseph, but when we had to totally convince him to even let us take Benjamin this time, imagine how horribly sad he will be. You cannot keep him with you. And basically what we realize is that the brothers have changed. Benjamin probably is still the favorite because he's a son of Rachel, but they protected their brother, unlike how they treated Joseph. And so Joseph has seen that the brothers have completely changed. And so then he asks, everyone leave my presence, asking all the Egyptians to leave, and reveals himself to his brothers. He can't handle it anymore after hearing what they're doing to defend Benjamin. And it's a really beautiful thing. It's kind of the proof of when we really have overcome a weakness, is when we're in the same situation and we overcome it even so. So for example, if every time that you are in a hotel room, you always order really bad room service, room service is really bad for you. And then the next time you go to a hotel, you're like, I really want room service. But then you don't order room service. There's a lot of examples like this. But basically, if you're in the situation where you could do the same thing again, but you don't, because you know it's not the best thing for you, that's when you've truly changed and made a character adjustment. So that's a beautiful sort of close for the brothers. Joseph reveals himself, and this is what's so beautiful about this reuniting of the brothers and Joseph. Joseph, says, "Do not be sorry, for you didn't sell me into slavery to go to Egypt. God did." And then Joseph explains that the famine would not have been prevented without Joseph being in Egypt. Why else would he have ever been in Egypt unless he would have been sold? And then and of course the whole thing with Potiphar was also part of the plan, because he wouldn't have been in jail to meet the butler, and the butler wouldn't be able to be freed and tell Pharaoh, "Oh, if you're having a bad dream, call this guy Joseph." Like, all of it, Joseph realizes was preordained, was planned by God. And he must have had these realizations over the past, I believe it's 2 years that he's out of jail and dealing with the famine and helping Egypt. He must have had a lot of time to think and truly decide how he feels about the fact that he was sold into slavery by his brothers. But then, of course, he must also realize that what he's been able to do for Egypt, the place that he's been able to get for the Jewish people, and how much he's able to help others with helping them to have food, and no one's starving. Really an incredible thing. And it's a beautiful thing that Joseph realizes and is able to say to his brothers immediately, and they have a beautiful reuniting. Of course, then later he asks that Jacob come. His first thing is he says, "I am Joseph. Is my father still alive?" And then says, do not be sorry." So then he asks for Jacob to be brought to Egypt. And so Jacob comes, and they prosper. The Jewish people prosper in Egypt. There is a line that God speaks to Jacob on his way to the land of Egypt. And then God comes to Jacob in a dream and says, "I will go down with you to Egypt, and I will bring you up out of Egypt, and Joseph's hand will always be upon your eyes," or Joseph's hand will be upon your eyes. So I will bring you down to Egypt. Okay. Maybe that refers to the slavery that the Jewish people are about to experience in the next few parshiot. Or it's that I will go down with you to Egypt. I will go with you, and I will also bring you back, meaning that you will not die in Egypt. Your bones will be interred in the land of Israel. So it's kind of like this sort of story foreshadowing, saying, like, I will bring you down to Egypt, wink, wink, and I will bring you up out of it, wink, wink, like a little hint that everything's going to be okay. Of course, the Torah wasn't written at the time of these events, so the people who were reading it couldn't know that everything was going to be okay. But it's kind of a nice thing, again, just kind of reminding us that all of it is this preordained plan. Of course, we have free will and free choice, but hopefully we're always steering ourselves in the direction that is the will for us. So that is the concepts for this week. Shabbat shalom, everyone. I hope you have a great week, and I will, God willing, see you next week.